But I think it was about 2015. But I was looking for something to replace tennis during the winter, an indoor game, you know. And I think I just got wind of pickleball from friends or, I don't know, people generally. And the city had a program at PV Gym for beginners. And they even, I think at the time, loaned you paddles. So I started there.
A good friend of mine, he invited me to come down to Priest Valley Arena and try out this new game called Pickleball. It was fairly new. I think it was probably the first year of it starting. We first started, there was a couple hundred, and then 400, 600, 800.
There was a lot of demand. You know, there were a lot of people wanting to play for not very many spots. So we would sign up, 48 players for 24 spots in PV Gym, with 6 courts. And so there was a method to try and, whose turn was it to play sort of thing. So they had a kind of a closet organizer, shoe rack kind of thing hanging from the chin-up bars, and you'd put your paddles in there to determine, who played next and with whom.
Initially, we were just using tennis courts, and we had a whole club, and we were throughout the town using different tennis courts. And the city had lines on some of the courts, had done some of them. But the problem became that pickleball became so popular that in a couple of the courts we were using, it was like 8 in the morning till 8, 9 at night. And they were full-time, running 50 people average at a time. So that became an awful lot of pressure, annoyance, whatever you want to call it, for the community. Because some of the houses were close by, and if you have lunch with 50 people, it gets pretty loud. When you start playing games with 50 people, it's pretty loud. The game itself is not loud, but just everything else that goes with it, people having fun. And that's what it was. It was all mostly seniors at that time. Now it's not. The average age is 25 to 35 years old playing pickleball. So it's a complete change.
Because we were playing in other schools, other gymnasiums from other schools, outside we were playing, yeah. It seemed to be we were putting a lot of energy and a lot of money into that, and we could maybe perhaps build something ourselves. I think that was the word going around, yeah.
I first saw pickleball being played in Los Barriles, Mexico, probably around 2014 or 2015, and thought it looked like a really cool sport. I had a background of playing badminton growing up, and so when we decided to retire to Vernon and I discovered that there was pickleball in Vernon, I decided right away that that was something that I was going to do. So when we moved here in 2017, after we got settled, there happened to be an open house down at Marshall Field Tennis Courts with the announcement that there was going to be new pickleball courts being built there, and that was my first exposure to the Vernon Pickleball Association. When I became involved in 2017, there was around 450 members, I believe. And currently now, in 2024, we have 1,200 members with 500 on a wait list to join. The popularity of pickleball has exploded in Vernon, and as well as everywhere, whether it's BC or across Canada, the US. It's actually the fastest growing sport in North America. So it's not just here in Vernon, but I would say that for the population of Vernon, we have a pretty high pickleball playing population.
What happened was we were getting more and more people, and we were running out of places to play. And I knew this site that we have here on Marshall Fields was there, and Tennis actually had an idea. They wanted to build something there, but they didn't. I spent time talking to them, and they said, no, we've given up. And so then that's what I decided I wanted to do. And I did that, and sort of did that on my own type of thing, finding out what we could do. At the time, there was 2 pickleball clubs, and one of the things we had to do is present a united front. And so in doing that, we got the 2 clubs, we started having meetings and got the 2 clubs joined with the idea that we're gonna build a nice facility. The city had in mind that at the time, they were looking at 4, 5, 6, 7 years, and they were going to maybe build 3 or 4 courts. And I knew that wouldn't work. So what I did is I did a drawing of what we have there now, 12 courts. And then I did presentations. I did presentations for actually close to 2 years, I guess. So I presented that board a number of times. And one of the things I would say is that we wanted this place and we were looking for support. And I did all of the cost projections to do it there. And what our goal initially was just to build the courts outdoor, just some outdoor courts. And in presentation, I did that accordingly. And I was able to finish the project, the outdoor courts, for pretty much half of what they projected, because I knew contractors that I'd worked with in the lumber industry, and they were willing to help out. And then we got donations beyond that. So we were able to get it down to almost half of what the actual projections were. So then in my presentations, having the drawings and everything done and the research done, I said that we would guarantee to do it for half, and we would own the facility, which we still do. And in doing that, I said, would the regional district offer to give us half, to donate half?
The initial trigger for the whole thing wouldn't have happened if the regional district hadn't stepped forward with offering the land at Marshall Field for a long-term lease of $1 a year, and the regional district contributed $300,000 to what was then an expected $600,000 cost of the outdoor facility. Basically, the politicians at the table recognized that the club could build the facility for about half what government could build it for.
Mr. Garlick was mayor in Coldstream, and Mr. Mund was mayor in Vernon, and they supported me really well. And there's a couple other members that supported as well. And then they said, well, let's let him do it, and we'll donate half, and if he doesn't get it all done, we'll finish it. So they didn't know if I would get it done or not, because I had no real experience in that. I just have a lot of industry experience, construction and stuff. I've helped build lumber mills and all that. So anyway, I managed it. So anyway, we got going, and the difficulty was we got the property, and we got the 2 clubs joined, the 2 clubs amalgamated, so that was good. And I gotta say that Mayor Mund was a huge support every step of the way, which was good for us. And then we started going, and I got contractors that I knew, and we started. The problem was we ended up with a 25,000 volt underground power line system that we had to move. And I started working with Hydro on getting that done. And we have 12, right now we have 1,200 members in the club and 500 on a waiting list. But what that means is, or the real benefit of that is, we have so many professionals in the club. We're seniors, but we have contractors, we have electricians, we have millwrights, we have any profession you can think of. So we just got them all together and said, okay, let's go to work. And the move that power line was 1,500 lineal feet of underground piping we had to install. So they put the new lines through, and then the transformer, we had to put in a whole new transformer. That was $35,000, and we're just a club. And then we dug it all with the contractor, and then all of us volunteers got in the trenches and laid the pipe and laid it properly. And the inspector for Hydro said, Don, I'll give you any contract you want. It's so well done. I said, no. I said, see all those guys in that trench? We're all 70, and we just want to play pickleball. There's a major irrigation controller in there in the middle of the field, and that had to be moved. We put in 15,000 feet of control wire around the Marshall Fields and around the facility and we had to move all of the irrigation lines, and the irrigation main line we had to move. So we had to do all this before we even built. And the other thing that I had in mind initially, was to put a building over top of it. But that was way beyond our reach. That was way beyond what we could afford. But what I did do is put a foundation in first, got the building we wanted, got it all figured out, worked with a company out of Texas, and we had to do some changes and stuff because I had designed heating and all that. So I worked with different companies to get that all figured out. And then we were able to match the foundation to the building. So we put the foundation all the way around. And what that does two things. That actually supports the building, but also supports the paved surface of the courts. So they don't move and you don't get the cracks. And it becomes very stable. So when we were done all that, then we dug it out really deep, down 2 feet. And then we started packing gravel, and then we got, our pavement is this thick. It's 5 inches thick. We got so much support. OK Ready Mix supplied all the concrete blocks for the foundation. And Home Hardware, I must say, Home Hardware gave us all of the materials to build our first shed out there. And that was John at Home Hardware, and that was really good. But anyway, we ended up with a lot of stuff from the community. Gravels we had to get supplied, and we had to get rid of all of the material that was taken away. And Postal they took our dirt, and we had the trucks going back and forth, so they took it for free. They didn't charge us for that. So that was really good. So we ended up with all kinds of support that was really exciting to go. And the paving company, we used Vernon Paving. Vernon Paving this was really unique because they had just bought a brand new paver with a tremendous width and 4 computers on it. Knowing that we were going to be inside, when you build a courts outside, you have to have a fairly steep slope to run water off. But if you're going to go inside, you don't need as much slope. And so even though they were going to be outside, I went to reduce slope, and they got it absolutely accurate. Vernon Paving did with that new machine. And because I did a very, very tight slope on it, and it worked out wonderful. So all of those things came together, and we even had some controversy because people said, well, pickleball's noisy from what they were hearing in town. And we said, no, we put it out here, we'll put it inside a building eventually. So we ended up finally getting support that way. And at the time, we had 350 members. And so that was enough. That was enough. And we actually had meetings where we're like, we want to build these courts and stuff. And prior to the meetings where we started presenting along the way, we needed to raise another $350,000. It turned out to be $400,000 we had to raise. So we presented that to the club members. Those are the kind of things we used to raise the money. When we got the courts all built, and mostly donations at that time. So we got it done, and it just started to fill up really, really well. So in 2 years, we said, okay, let's see if we can afford the building.
When we're about halfway through building the outdoor courts, so we built them first, I joined the building committee at that point. And then the next year I was elected president. And the plan was, after we built the outdoor courts, to put the cover up or the roof up maybe 5+ years later. And to me, that just seemed like too long away. You know, there was so much demand for winter, in particularly for the winter time. It was causing stresses and strains within the club, so I really felt we needed to do it much sooner. So we put together a new building committee for the next phase and a finance committee, and started some planning at that point. That winter, COVID hit, and most of us that were kind of key to this were down south in Arizona or various places, and we came scurrying back across the border in March of 2020 when everything kind of broke loose. And we were immediately told by the city of Vernon that, with COVID and everything else going on, there wasn't going to be any money coming from the city. So we very quickly put together a strategy to fund the facility and a very aggressive timeline.
So we presented it to the club. Now we had something like 500 or 600 members in the club. And we presented it to the club, and that's when we went to prepaid fees and debentures. We're going to pay 3% on debentures and donations.
So anyway, we pitched the thing to the members in May of 2020 with an aggressive timeline that we could be open for business by Christmas time. opened up funding 3 days later.
Debentures, prepaid court time, like they came up with all these different strategies on how to raise money in order to have this facility put together while it was needed. Because when COVID hit, that was sort of the writing on the wall. We needed to have our own facility, uncovered facility.
In 22 days, we raised $1 million within our pickleball club. So that was amazing.
Membership was just amazing. Once we had all pledges in place, literally we turned the pledges into cash in a week. People lined up on the outdoor courts at the time. We set up, tables to issue debentures and take checks. And, we had a lineup of members, wanting us to give their contributions. But the real key, I think, in that funding success was that we gave the members options on how they could contribute. It wasn't an obligation, it was an opportunity to improve their own pickleball lifestyle. And so we offered them you could loan the club money via $2,500 debentures, or you could do tax donations, a donation with a tax receipt, or you could just pre-play your club credits, which you have to pay to play when you've got a facility like this. And so, say in short order, we raised the funds and got on with it. So really, COVID was a good catalyst to it all. We used the Winston Churchill motto of never waste a good crisis, and it worked.
And the city said it was $250,000 for permits, and they said, okay, we'll waive those. We'll look after that ourselves. So that was another donation from the city, from Vernon. Vernon did that one.
And it became evident, fairly soon that, we could probably do this. But so the response from the members was we probably had 400 members then, and about 200 contributed, which, to get 50% to contribute is far greater than most funding campaigns, which were usually 5 or 10% maybe. So yeah, the real challenge and the real success was just the response from the members, and everybody tapped into their pickleball passion and stepped up. The amazing response we also had from our members to volunteer to do stuff. There's thousands and thousands of hours of volunteer work went into the construction. And there's just a wealth of experience within the club that, people step forward, and we, whenever we needed the work party, people responded.
Again, we had journeyman electricians, we had all millwrights, we had all kinds of people in the club. So we ended up installing a lot of the stuff. There's a company called Rennie Equipment out of Lumbee, and they had expertise in building mills normally, but they also had expertise in putting these buildings up. So they came out, and I gotta say, this is really amazing because they started putting the building out. They had 5 machines out here, 4 big man lifts and a scissor lift. And I've known the guy for 30 years doing the mills and stuff. And he said, yeah, we'll do that. And I said, what are your hours? And he said, we'll work from 7 in the morning till we'll do 8 hours. So we're done at 3. And I said, what about after hours? Can we use your machines? What do you charge me? He said, go ahead, no charge. Those machines to rent per day would be close to $4,000 or $5,000. We used them for 3 or 4 months. So that was amazing. So we put up we did all of the wiring in there. We put in 6,000 feet of wiring. We put in 1,000 feet of piping. That was all our own guys. And then we had a contractor that I knew for electrical. He oversaw everything. And then he put in all of the major panels and stuff. And he was great. He even said, because we had to put in a major transformer of our own. And he called me up and said, Don, I found when you buy it, then I don't have to charge you fees on it. And I said, okay. So he helped us out with all kinds of supplies for our wiring project. And that, those kinds of things made a big difference for us.
Seeing the first, steel trusses go up, it's a big complex, the peak is 55 feet up. So there's a couple of real big cranes there raising these. And so when the first truss was in place, it became pretty real that we were going to actually get the roof up.
So we just kept on, and I can tell you that our own journeymen, we had 2 of them that worked a lot of hours. They worked full-time for 3 months just to get the wiring done. And our contractor did the other stuff, as I said, but the inspector, when he came out to look, he was stunned. Because all the senior guys, they're retired, so they want to do it perfect, and they got the time to do it. So he actually brought out people, the inspector actually brought out people that were trying to learn to have a look at what we did. So we were quite proud of that. Our volunteers did a fabulous job. And we had 20, 30 volunteers that showed up all the time, whether it was digging trenches or putting up fences or whatever it was. We had a guy that took over responsibility for the fences. And obviously you can see he did a great job. And when we put the building up, we had to redo fences inside, and he looked after doing all of that, getting the necessary volunteers.
And then in phase 3, when we were just putting up the reception center, which we just finished this last summer, the city contributed $200,000 for an eventual $1.5 million cost for this reception center. The stakeholder involvement was pretty much financial. The rest of it was all done by the club.
I think it's absolutely amazing example of what people can do if they have the mind and the ability to do it. I mean, how they've put all that together and put that up, I really don't imagine. All I did was contribute some money and my good wishes.
Since we had our courts built in 2018, that was a real attractant for people to have dedicated pickleball courts, 12 dedicated pickleball courts to play in. So from a marketing or strategy, we haven't really had to do a lot. It's been organic growth. I'm not sure if it still is the largest pickleball only, so dedicated pickleball covered facility in Canada, but when it opened with the cover on it in 2021, we in Vernon, here we are, small town Vernon, 45,000 people with the largest dedicated pickleball facility in Canada. And that's really because the people who started back in 2014 petitioning the city to get land and then putting together a plan, and all the people that were involved, from being project managers and looking after the construction, and doing the work, the grunt work, the landscaping, the tiling. Our club itself is unique. We have people emailing and asking questions. How did you guys do that? Who paid for it? The membership paid for it. This was a huge fundraiser. I know that there's a lot of clubs across Canada that wonder, how did Vernon do this? And I have to say it's because A, there's a love of pickleball in the city, and B, there's a lot of very, very dedicated people who are willing to put in tons of volunteer hours and money to make it happen.